Well, President Tinubu is currently in France. We're told he's gone to the UK on what his aides say is a working visit. But Mr. Abubakar issued a statement earlier saying that while Mr. Tinubu is dining under chandeliers in the land of good governance, the country he governs is spiraling into chaos. And the man who signed that press release is Paul Ibe, media advisor to the former Vice President and 2023 PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. And Mr. Ibe joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Charles, for having me.
Let me begin with something you said in your press release today on behalf of Atiku Abubakar. You said that while President Tinubu dines under chandeliers in the land of good governance, which presumably means France, the country he governs is spiraling out of control and into chaos. Is Nigeria spiraling into chaos?
We are living, all of us as citizens are living, Nigeria is happening to us. I mean, the state of insecurity has become endemic. Nothing seems to be working. But the most unfortunate, aspect of it all is that we have a president who has gone AWOL. Governance cannot be conducted on WhatsApp, villa WhatsApp platform, or the internet, or the social media. Governance is conducted with the president having his boots, on the ground. Charles, this president traveled. I'm not aware, citizens were not aware that, the commander-in-chief has been ceded to the vice president. There is a limit to what the vice president can do. The Yorubas have a saying. They say, "Àìsílò ológìní, nílé wa dílé èkúté." In the absence of the pussycat, the rat takes over. His absence does two things. One, is going to enable all of these bad characters, to be able to continue to do what they're doing, to attack, to maim, to kill. His presence will give succor. It will give, it will give confidence to Nigerians. It's like your dad being away in a storm. There was a night, my wife and I woke up. It was a serious storm here in Abuja. And all of a sudden we turned right and left. Our children had gathered into our room. And they were safe. The absence of the president, the commander-in-chief, does not give any succor, doesn't give comfort to citizens.
Well, his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, has issued a statement saying the president is in constant communication with key government officials and is overseeing critical national matters and is giving directives to security chiefs to address emerging threats. He didn't mention anything about WhatsApp or social media. That sounds like the ground is well covered.
Which ground?
Well, the ground that the president is overseeing, which is the state of the nation.
If the ground is well covered, Charles, in the last couple of days, we've had over 100 deaths arising from attacks in Benue and in Plateau, twice in Plateau State, in Boko's local government, and some other place. And the same thing is, is being replicated elsewhere. So what ground is he talking about? Maybe his portfolio needs to be changed to special advisor on misinformation and propaganda, because that is what it's all about. It matters less that the president has moved from France to the United Kingdom. Probably what may change is the menu. The French will probably have afforded them a different menu from what they, you probably, have the benefits of a complete, British breakfast. Charles, this is appalling. The Nigerians are complaining about the absence of the president, and then he takes a flight from Paris to London. What does that change? And you are telling us that grounds are covered. No, sir. The grounds are not covered. We are being weighed down by the enormity, both the security challenges, the economic, challenges. Nigerians are worse off than they were 2 years ago.
I understand the symbolic need for a president to be around at a time of perceived crisis. But I mean, the president could be forgiven, this is what his aides say, for feeling somewhat beleaguered and wanting to take 2 weeks off to get some rest, recharge his batteries. His aides argue that he's been on full trot with the economy, politics, insecurity, and innumerable other issues, and that he deserves to take a fortnight off. But you don't think so?
Charles.
I mean, a fortnight, and when they mean fortnight off, they mean they call it a working visit. So he's not actually lounging at a beach drinking pina coladas. I mean, he's working whilst he's away. That's what they say. But clearly, you don't agree with that.
In 2024, former President Biden was in Delaware. And then he was forced to leave Delaware back to Washington because of a credible threat, Iranian threat against Israel, who are, partners of the US. In 2016, former President Barack Obama cut short his visit to Europe to go visit Texas because of shooting that claimed the lives of 5 policemen. Charles, we've had over 100 killings. And the president is out there reflecting. So you ask yourself, what is the reflection about? To see Nigerians die in their numbers, and he can't come home to empathize with them. I don't know what is going on, except there is more to what he's talking about. Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa, in 2019, he was in Egypt on a state visit, and there was energy crisis in South Africa, and he flew back to go and take charge of the situation. And this is the same president that in 2023 did say that he had banned, I think that was in April. It was to take effect April 1 of 2023. Maybe that was an April Fool prank, a joke. The president did say that official trips to be funded by government were banned, effective April 1, 2023. So what is the president reflecting on? In France, and now to the United Kingdom, that he cannot do in Ekpe? There are results there.
Well, if it's a working visit, then potentially he may, no, let me just make the point.
Yes.
He may potentially, and I don't know because I don't speak for the government.
Yes.
But my job is to reflect the other side of the story, as you well know.
Yes.
And he may well be holding meetings in the United Kingdom that are crucial to the governance of this country. I mean, we don't know. They say that you and other opposition leaders, rather than actually trying to find out a bit more about what the president's working visit entails, that you, your principal, Atiku Abubakar, and other opposition leaders are simply picking at every opportunity to gain some political capital, and that you're swimming against a powerful tide. If that is the case, what prospect is there of turning that tide back in your favor ahead of 2027? Because the argument is basically that's what all this is about.
The question I will ask is that what is the nature of the work that the president is doing in France and now the United Kingdom?
Well, I have no idea.
Now, you and I don't know because we have an irresponsible government. It is their duty to communicate to Nigerians. We don't need to go shopping to know what the president is doing. They have a responsibility to communicate to us. And they have not done that. And the reason is simple. They are trying to hide the real intent of why the president is where he is.
So what are they hiding?
I don't know.
So why would you then assume that they're hiding something?
No, because they said he's working. So you ask yourself, is it the work of meeting with a very junior official of the United States? Is that part of the work?
No, they said he was on a working visit. Working visit simply means that he's actually dealing with matters Nigerian. That means that he's working whilst he's away. I mean, you can be working whilst you're away. Journalists get sent on overseas trips and they go there and they're covering news and they're operating whilst they're in another country. I mean, potentially that could be the case. As I said, I don't speak for them, but I have to reflect the other side of the argument.
By the time this president returns from his visit, Charles, this president will have spent 59 days in just the nation of France, a nation that was built on the back of patriots. If that nation was not good enough, the president would not be going repeatedly to France. The question is, what is there in France? Is it to see France and die? Or to see France and then forget about the Nigerian people whom you have a responsibility to? I mean, what are we talking about? You have an absentee president, and you're trying to justify, that. I mean, does he think that Nigerians are fools? Nigerians are no fools. And it's not just Atiku Abubakar who is complaining about, the absence of the president. Nigerians in their numbers are saying that. I mean, they find this, it's not acceptable to them. They want to feel, like I told you earlier, the presence of the president in the country will give confidence to the people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That would be the case, but obviously the governance involves also the international geopolitics.
What we are faced with now in Nigeria is an emergency. If the president could have declared a sort of emergency in Rivers State, Nigeria is facing a dire situation, worse than the situation that we had that led to the sort of emergency declaration in that state. So, therefore, you expect the president to cut short whatever trip and whatever working visit. Because is he going to, at the end of the work, and come back and you will see the tombstones of Nigerians in their thousands, the same people he's reflecting about, and they have been killed? So who will you be presiding over? Dead men and women? Charles, this is not acceptable. And we must not justify this. No.
Well, let's talk about, you talk about various crises. Let's talk about coalitions and mergers. Let's move away from this and talk a little bit about the coalition and mergers and all the talk about swirling around your principal, Atiku Abubakar. He seems to have been at the forefront of that, and we always thought of him as being in it with the People's Democratic Party. But the PDP governors have said they won't be part of that. So where do things stand at the moment?
Well, we respect the position of the governors. Like I said earlier, the governors are stakeholders, in any party, not just the PDP. But there are also other stakeholders of the party. And the biggest stakeholders in any party are Nigerians. And Nigerians are clear about the direction that they want to go. They want to end this reckless, irresponsible, incompetent, clueless government. Nigerians want to reclaim their country. And to rebuild it, they have to reclaim it first. And so the coalition presents Nigerians with a vehicle. And when I speak about Nigerians, I'm speaking, it's not just about Atiku Abubakar. Atiku Abubakar and all of the other leaders who are involved in this are just the tools, to the end. This is about Nigeria. They have looked at it and they have seen that this journey is a journey to nowhere. When you will have a president who takes off and you can't see the president, and the president justified that.
We've said all that.
Yes, no, I'm only trying to give you the background.
But you talked about the vehicle
yes,
via which you're going to try and push the president out of Aso Rock. And that vehicle is under threat, isn't it? If the PDP governors, the PDP is the largest opposition party in this country, if they say they're not going to be part of it, doesn't that pull the rug out from under the feet of any merger and coalition?
There are always threats. When a woman is about to bet a baby, what we have with the coalition is akin to a pregnant woman. There are bound to be threats. You can see a situation where the child is probably going to come with their legs first and not their head. And at times the doctors need to make a determination whether to do a CS and all of that. Yeah, will always be threats. The important thing is that the surgeons who are going to bet this baby, they are on standby. And they are monitoring the situation. And they're going to ensure that this baby is birthed. Yeah, and this baby is nurtured.
But you're presuming that the baby is going to be born absolutely 100% healthy.
Yes.
And if a significant portion of that baby's body is missing, then the baby obviously won't be born healthy, will it?
The infrastructure is in place to ensure the birth of this baby.
Yeah, but how? If the PDP is not part of it, how are you going to do it?
I just told you that the governor's views are respected. They are not the only stakeholders.
Right. So you think there's still a shot? There's still a chance that the PDP is in
there
it with
will
a shot?
be alignments and realignments. It's still early days.
Right.
You know, one day, 24 hours is a long time in politics. And some of the governors will probably come to realize when the train gets going, and they will probably meet it, somewhere, one of the stations, multiple stations.
I like that.
Around.
But let's talk about the other thing that is also rubbing some people up the wrong way. People say that Mr. Atiku has been around the political bloc a few times and that it's time for him to step aside and allow other opposition figures to come forward and to support them to emerge in 2027, especially people who are from the south. I mean, Atiku is from the north. The way Nigerian politics operate, certainly in terms of the customary way that it operates, is that the south gets 8 years and the north gets 8 years. I mean, why can't Mr. Atiku support a southern candidate to challenge Mr. Tinubu in 2027?
Those people, you speak about, they are putting the cart before the horse. I think it would be a disservice to Nigeria, Charles, if you and I sit here and begin to talk about, the ambition of one man, when we are still challenged by, the day-to-day living, the well-being.
Yeah, but that's how you're
Nigerians.
offering your principle as an alternative.
No, Atiku himself had said it recently when asked about 2027. And he said, I haven't come to that point. I haven't made a determination. I haven't, said that. And when the man hasn't come to that point, I think it would be mischievous of anybody to begin to suggest. And the people who do that are those who want to truncate, who want to derail, this train.
So
because his focus.
So let me ask you this,
Yes.
because we're almost